You ready to do this?
Yeah, let's go.
Hello, welcome to Show Boys. My name's Mike. Joined here with Father G.
That's right.
For another Severance breakdown. This week we'll be talking about episode 6, Attila. Man, first episode on the back half of season 2 here.
Oh, it's a wild one.
Kind of sad, kind of exciting. Before we get into it, of course, got to shout out top tier patrons. Thank you, Josie, Eastfage, Tim B, all of our other patrons. You guys are amazing. Nick just posted the first episode of the Jedi Survivor playthrough that we're doing for Patreon today. So go check that out. I think you're actually able to purchase single episodes on Patreon.
Oh, cool.
So, you might as well just sign up. But if you wanted to, you could listen to just a single episode for some charge. I don't know how much it is. But anyways, go check it out, patreon.com/showboyspodcast. But tonight we're here to talk about Severance, Attila, episode 6. A lot of stuff going on. Jeff, where do you want to start?
A lot of stuff going on. Can we just say, like, how evil and sinister Bert looks throughout this entire episode? Like, his glaring is kind of crazy.
Yeah. Bert is looking quite menacing, and for some reason, like, we talk every day, all throughout the day, because we're best buds, and that's what best buds do.
That's right.
But a lot of off podcast Severance talk happens, and you kept saying, like, I don't trust Bert, and for some reason, I don't know why, but I was like, as I associated Bert as Irving. And I'm like, why don't you trust Irving? He seems like a nice guy.
I trust Irving.
And then I was like, oh yeah, you idiot. That's not Bert, you big dumbo. That's why.
Really weird side random thing. I was watching a video of someone else talking about the show, and they called Bert and Irving Bert and Ernie. I got a good chuckle out of that.
That is funny. But yeah, man, you're right. Even after this episode, I definitely don't trust Bert. No. I had some questions, and now those questions have grown into even more suspicion. So thanks for planting that seed.
You're welcome. And can we also, like, do a nod to John Noble, who is fantastic as always, and like everything he does. I feel like I'm glad that they recast this actor, because if you remember in the finale of season 1, it was a totally different guy.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
I did not
remember. John Noble.
Well, see, that's what happens when you take 3 years between seasons. It makes,
like, I'm out.
Recasting pretty simple.
Or maybe because this show is very intentional on its, like, seemingly, misstep in continuity. It's very, like, they're very methodical in everything that they do. I wonder, and this is like a right off the rip theory here happening and on the spot right here on Show Boys. You heard it here first, guys.
Without a wild theory in the first 5 minutes.
What if the guy who is in the finale of season 1 is our whistling dude in what episode was that? Where
like 2 episodes ago or something.
The dude with the cart, the doctor, the dentist.
Yeah.
Because they didn't show his face.
That's true. So I was trying to play it off cool and pretending like I know who you're talking about. But I can no longer pretend I know who you're talking about. Who is this character that was recast? Bert's husband?
Yeah, Bert's husband.
Okay.
Fields.
Okay. All right.
Because they showed them briefly together,
right,
through the window when Irving was pounding on the door during PC.
Okay.
I don't know. It, maybe it was just a recasting thing, which is very likely.
Right.
Or it could be much deeper than that, which I kind of hope, because it would add a lot more.
Yeah.
To what is happening.
That would be wild if he was, because they didn't show the cart pusher, and they did. I feel like they went out of their way to hide his face with some of the shots.
Right.
Like intentionally, they could have just kept the camera angle like lower half of the body or on the wheels of the cart or from behind, but they have that shot where he's walking past the shelves and his face is just like perfectly blocked by the shelf and items on the shelf. So
here's another thought. Maybe it's a clever a decoy, because this guy is casted like in the credits, and if you look at his picture, they show his face, like they show who this guy is, who's playing this.
Spoiler alert! Jeez.
Whatever. Maybe it's them trying to kind of like, I don't know, lead us away somehow, or like distract us. I don't know.
A good old fashioned red herring.
Yeah.
By the way, if you're listening to this and you're expecting spoiler free talk, this is not the place for that.
No.
So we haven't done this at all season so far, but I guess spoiler alert.
To be fair, there are hundreds, if not thousands, probably, of other videos of people breaking this down, and it's been 4 days. So if you have not watched it, it's your own fault.
True.
Just saying.
True. Yeah. But yeah, where do you want to start tonight?
So we'll just do our normal thing. We'll just do a quick, run through the episode. You can derail me at any moment. The stick in the tire spoke, as you do.
Yeah.
So basically, the episode picks right up after Mark's interaction with Miss Casey in the hallway as Outie Mark. Completely like, he's like just blown away, in shock. Really messed up at the start of this episode. Like, he's sitting in his living room with Ragabi, telling her all the stuff that happened, that it was weird, describing being on the Severance floor. He was like, why is she saying all this random things to me about me, and saying that she didn't even recognize him. And Ragabi believes that Gemma is still in there somewhere, because she's essential. And I thought that was interesting that she said it that way. And then he goes on about talking about being in the bargaining phase of grief. How you make, I'll stop drinking, and and he's basically saying that it might actually happen, that he could get her back because he's made all these good changes. And side note that I read from somewhere, some people are speculating that he and Gemma had some fights because of his drinking, and maybe it was his fault that they crashed.
Oh, that
would be wild.
That would, I mean, okay, so obviously losing a loved one would be tough, but that would be monumentally tougher.
That would explain the extreme weight,
like wanting to completely erase it from your mind. Like, yeah, that would make sense. He has a drinking problem though.
He did.
He did?
This season he stopped drinking.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
Look, all of season 1 he was a boozer.
3 years. You forget a lot.
It's hard. It's hard to remember certain, details.
So I know we like to go in sequence of the show, but while this is fresh on my mind, Wow, my eyes have been closed for a really long time. I'm so tired. Could just fall right asleep. Like, what do you think of all the, like, I don't even know the right term, like flashbacks between like Mark being in Lumen and being at home, basically doing the exact same thing in the same spot, and like the constant flashing back and forth. I started to wonder, okay, we're not even 10 minutes in, and this is wild theory number 2 of the episode that's brand new that we haven't speculated on before. What if they aren't actually in the office to begin with?
Like a simulation or something?
It's all like in their mind, and when it flips on, they think they're in MDR, but really, this is probably easily debunked. I'm already debunking it myself as I'm speaking, but it's just the way that they showed, like, he's in the break room refrigerator, opens the door, then all of his like nasty sauerkraut, like eggnog bottles were in there, and then he's like looks up and he's in the same exact position in his kitchen, and then it flips right to the break room, and everything, like the clock is in the same spot, the fish tank is in the same spot, like everything is in the same spot.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, what if this is all just in his brain? But that wouldn't explain like Audi Mark actually drives to work and walks through Lumen.
Yeah.
So
you just basically unraveled your whole theory
easily debunked
in 30 seconds.
But I don't know. Did any of those type of thoughts like go through your mind while those scenes were happening?
I think the only thing that really that stuck out to me was I really feel like time is off. The timing is very off, especially like towards the end.
Yeah. Well, I think too. At one point, I always forget the doctor's name. Rigaldi.
Ragabi.
Yep. She at one point, like while all this is happening, she references like, "Oh, you're remembering." So he's like recounting memories of work days. So like at that point, I was like probably exactly what you're saying. I'm like, what's the actual timeline? Like, are we actually when we see him in MDR? Like, is that present time, or is he remembering these through like whatever the reintegration process that they're doing is? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is that, were you thinking that at all?
Yeah, I mean it's just weird. Like they're not. I mean, they're keeping it crazy enough that we're speculating about every little detail because they've kind of put us in this position to question every little detail. But I think so. Like, I guess we could just talk about it. The ending part where after Mark gets his bloody nose and they're with Helly and Miss Huang are in the office and it's flashing back and forth. And then he's with Ragabi and she's like, "Where are you?" And then, cause I'm feeling like both of these Innie and Outie timelines are, going at the same pace,
right?
The same spot. But that was a memory. That whole experience as an Innie was a memory. So like, I don't know. The timing's definitely off for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. Anyways.
So the next part is Dylan, Mark, and Helly in the kitchen talking about the sketch of the hallway. I love this. This whole
Helly is so brutal, dude.
So they asked to see it, but Dylan explains to them that he left it on the poster because he didn't want to get in trouble. Helly then says that she'll go get it and asks if it's behind the poster of Dylan actually being brave.
Dude, when she said that, I about died.
Yeah, it's great. Well, and this actress is so fun. Like, she is great. And
yeah, the duality of both of her characters is they're so
phenomenal.
far apart from each other, and she does them so well.
Yes. And like so well that you like, for me, before we found out that she was Helena the whole time, I'm like, she's just off. Like there's just something wrong. And that's why I speculated early that it was actually Helena.
Right.
So Dylan, is defending himself. They don't know everything that's going on. And he doesn't want to explain to them that he has these special privileges because they'd probably be upset.
Right.
And then also I love the mirrored effect. A lot of mirroring stuff going on in different shots, like the shot in the bathroom from the last episode with Helly and Mark, and then Helly in the reflection. And then in this episode, they're in the kitchen and you have the mirrored, the same, them in the same shot. It just shows the tension between the two, like the innie and outies. I love it. And the the quote that she said, because she was like, well, let's go, go get the picture. And he's like, yeah, I guess, or whatever. And she's like, did everyone get their balls severed this morning?
Yeah, dude. She was on something, dude. So great.
And then when he opens the fridge and it starts glitching and it goes to Audi Mark's house fridge, and then all the scenes are like switching back and forth, and everything's like lined up and everything. And I also love the switching of Helly and Helena, because it wasn't Helly in Audi Mark's house. She looked totally different. Like her hair was different.
Oh, really? I didn't even.
Posture was different. Her demeanor was different. Even the way she like looked at him was totally different. These writers are amazing. Like the amount of detail they put into this is just like way above par. And then we get our intro, naturally, just amazing. I have to watch it every time. I can't skip it. And then we are
after this episode, the very end of the intro makes sense.
Yes.
Coming out of the back of his head.
Makes sense. Which is really cool. So now we are in Milkshake's office, and he is sitting at his desk, and Miss Huang walks in. He basically, she asks how the performance review went, and she acts concerned, and then she said that she's glad for him, that, he's going to take steps to improve and whatnot. But then he like switches and he tells her, you cannot graduate from this fellowship until I deemed you Wintertide material.
Yeah, I wonder what Wintertide is.
Right. Another side note, there's a lot of nautical references in the show. Like there's a lot of boat, water, a lot of, like they were on a lake at the beginning of, a couple episodes ago, Irving was. Yeah, I think that's just interesting. I mean, even part of the logo of Lumen is a water droplet. Yeah, just very interesting. He says you need to focus on your duties and eradicating from your essence childish folly. And then he says, she will steward the severed floor because he's got to take care of some things. And then she gets up like ready to go and is like thinking that she's gonna sit at his desk or whatever, and he's like, you can sit at your desk.
Yeah, that's your normal desk. Yeah. And yeah, I love it. He's like, you must eradicate the essence of childish folly. He's not doing great on his performance review. He's not rehab so far.
No, but he's about to.
Yeah, dude. He gets a little little dark.
Intense.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
intense in his little closet mirror thing.
And I think Miss Huang, she may be a child, but she's got a very corporate attitude. You can see it all over her.
Yeah.
She's playing along, but I think she wants that job. I think she wants to climb the ladder.
Yeah, I want to know what this like graduating wintertide material, like obviously we know that this part of Lumen, at least at the very least, the leadership of Lumen, very cultish. So I'm sure obviously has something to do with that, but like why? Like what is this child doing? And what is she trying to graduate into? And what the heck is wintertide?
Right. I have another theory, and it goes along with another theory I already have. Just compounding theories. It's theory inception.
This Showboys Theory Cast.
So we're talking about, like, we brought up cloning, right?
Mm-hmm.
And with the technology that they have, I feel like they most likely would be able to do some kind of transfer of consciousness,
like in vitro cloning, and then transfer the consciousness. So,
right. And I think that Miss Huang might have someone else's consciousness.
Yeah, like
possibly
she's older. Maybe she
because
was in some sort of accident, and she needed a new body to continue on. So that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Back on the rails. We are now with Mark and Helly in a bathroom stall.
Totally normal,
having a conversation about stuff, and Mark is like, we shared vessels.
What a way to put that.
Who talks like that?
Milchek probably.
Right. I mean, it's the whatever time they think they're in, like it kind of just like.
I love it because Helly was like,
oh,
okay.
What? Because she's pretty new to it, and like this isn't. What are you talking about? Just a weird expression. And then he finally explains that they had sex, and Helly's confused, thinks he meant Miss Casey, like it was a wellness session, whatever. And he's like, no, it happened in your tent. And she's like, how do you process that? Like, you have no memory of it. And you're like, okay. And then she leaves. And then Mark
tries to grab her hand to comfort her, and continue talking, and she pulls away.
Like, I need to go for a walk.
Right, I'm out of here.
And he's like reassuring her that I didn't know it was you, or I didn't know it was. I didn't know it wasn't you.
That awkward conversation of I didn't know it wasn't you.
Yeah,
but I wish it was you. It's like, Mark, just stop talking.
Seriously. So then she leaves, and she's walking down the hall, and she takes off her shoes. I feel like that was done intentional, but I don't really know why. It could be. I think it might be because she's pregnant. Maybe her feet hurt. I don't know.
I can't remember if Helly says this in the episode or if it was I forget the actress's name, something Brit or Brit something. I should learn it. But if it was her talking in the post credits, behind the scenes of the episode, I think it was Helly saying it during the episode though, where Helena gets her dressed. She's like a child, right? And
she dresses me like a baby.
Yeah, so maybe after learning what Helena did, something as simple as just taking her shoes off and walking around was her way of rebelling and being you know what?
I see that too. Yeah.
You can like, as silly as it sounds, but like, you can't control what I wear down here, so I'm just gonna take my shoes off.
I mean, that was a big part of season 1. Like, she was like very much rebelling against her Audi.
Yeah. So, I mean, probably off on my interpretation of the whole shoe removal, but if I had, if you were like gonna punch me in my head, if I didn't tell you why I thought she took her shoes off, that would probably be my answer. Yeah.
So there are a couple other things that happen. We can go through these real quick. We've got Milkshake and his paper clips. There's two large stacks of papers.
Hold on. Didn't we discuss that the larger end goes on the bottom?
It goes in the back, yeah.
He was
he was still doing it wrong.
Yeah. Milkshake.
Come on, man. But you could tell that it was like really getting to him because his hand was shaking when he was done by the end of it. Did you see those stacks of papers? I'd be twitching too, man.
And he put them all on wrong. He's learned nothing. But
not with the paper clips, at least.
Yeah, the whole mirror thing was like really intense.
Yeah.
I don't want him to not use big words. Like, his vocabulary is my favorite part of Milkshake. I just says the most ridiculous thing.
He does. But again, it like fits the time, like whatever time that's been like created for that space.
Yeah.
It just kind of fits.
And it also, like, when he talks like that, it adds a lot more power and intensity to the times that he says things like he said to Mark in the elevator, like face to face, about like effing Helena. It's like, whoa, didn't expect to hear that coming out of Milkshake's mouth.
Right.
And I'm sure Mark thought like the exact same thing, like, whoa,
this
guy never talks like this. Like,
back up a little bit, please.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it was very interesting seeing his, like, I guess, attempt at making atonement for his poor review,
which sucks, because in a way I feel like it kind of robs him of his power, like, because this is who he is, and I think he's another great character.
He's an awesome character. Like, he sucks, but he's like an awesome character.
But you love to hate him. Like, he's just one of those characters.
But that's the whole thing of cults, right? Like, you
for the cause.
You lose your power and your individuality.
You sacrifice yourself for the greater cause.
Yeah.
And I don't see him as a bad guy. I don't see him as a villain in this at all. I just see him stuck in the middle as a pawn, and he can't do anything about it. I think he might have a lot to lose. Like, there's a lot at stake for him that we don't know, possibly.
Yeah, I could definitely see him somewhere in the gray area, in the middle. Definitely not like a great guy, but like, I don't know how far he's willing to go,
Right.
I don't know.
Right. Yeah, that's crazy. So we can talk briefly about Dylan and Gretchen's experience. The part I love about this part was when Dylan said, "I just want to hear about all my offspring and stare at your face."
Yeah. Can we do the hug thing again?
I really like the hug. Really like the hugs.
Yeah, but dude, it's so sad.
It's so awkward too. Like,
because like when we see the scenes with his Audi, like, he just is so aloof and detached that, like, it's breaking what's it, Gretchen? Is that her name? It's breaking Gretchen's heart. I feel like having these little meetings with Dylan in Lumen, because like, he's interested in, like,
all about her.
And
it's like a rekindled relationship.
Yeah.
without the actual person.
Yeah, and so much so that like she doesn't even tell him, or she says that like the meeting got canceled or something.
Right.
That's that's heartbreaking.
Yeah, it is. It is. And there was a question about whether or not that was cheating. And absolutely. She is totally having an affair with his other person.
With her own husband. Yeah, but like, yeah, I forget what the exact exchange was between them, but essentially Dylan being like, oh yeah, he must be pretty lucky or something like that. Something maybe not exactly that, but like inferring that.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, that's you.
Right. You are that person.
It's you.
You just don't know that part of you.
Yeah, man, it's just crazy.
So then we have a little bit of back and forth, like scenes between Helly and Mark. Helly is sitting in the corner with her shoes off. We see Mark in the office. Dylan and his wife are, getting all kissy. So there's a moment which I did when I did my rewatch. When it was on Helly, like she was just kind of staring off, and then I think like the look in her eye changed a little bit, but then the camera shook, which was interesting. And then it went right to Mark. Like, I don't know if that was just creative camera work or if it was intentional. But she was remembering that kiss that she had with Mark from the elevator, that one scene. And then Mark is remembering his moment with Helena in the tent. And then Helly gets up to go back to MDR, and then they both meet in the hallway. Mark apologizes. And this is the part where Helly says, she dresses me in the morning like a baby. It's all disgusting.
Yeah.
And then he offers to explain what happened. Do you want me to explain it to you?
Do you want me to tell you in detail?
She's like, no, I don't want to know her memory. I want my own.
Dude,
so then
so awkward.
It's so awkward, but it's so great. It reminds me of, two teenagers being, whatever. And so they sneak away. They go to a room where their desks covered in plastic, and they make their own moment in a tent. And then she says, ta-da, a tent. And then, they have their moment.
Yeah. And then immediately after is when we get the nosebleed.
Well, we get the whole milkshake thing.
Oh, yeah.
And then he's, in the mirror
grow,
degrading himself through words.
Grow. Yeah. Dang, bro. You can keep saying folly. It's okay.
Yeah, we're totally fine with the way you speak, man. It's great. It's what makes you. The you are.
Exactly. Somebody needs to get drumming that book.
Right. So now we're in the hallway with Mark and Helly. She asks if it was different with her. Mark kisses her, and then he thinks that she's bleeding, but it's actually Mark.
Got red on you.
Yeah. And then they go to see Miss Huang. She makes the odd statement that the humidity is maintained at a 45%.
Yeah, you don't get those no dry nasal passage.
Right. And then she's like, what were you guys doing when this happened? And then Helly was like, we were refining something. Yes, you were.
Would you like me to apply petroleum jelly to your nostril?
So, and then Miss Huang asks if he's had any hallucinations, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, because doesn't he like have one
right then and there? So she's taking his blood pressure. Then he starts glitching. He's at his house. This is when I made the note that there's something weird with the time. So he's trying to remember what's happened. he begins coughing. She calls it Ragabi calls it a crossover memory.
Yeah.
And then she wants to enhance and speed up the process. And there's a slight chance of hemorrhage. He's like, so you mean I'll bleed to death?
Yeah. Is this the point where he's like, you know what? Let's just cut it out.
Well, he freaks out and like
rips all the stuff off.
Rips it off and he leaves to go eat because he's starving.
Dude, and does he eat?
He eats
like
for
5 plates.
To be fair, he's eating for 2. So
yeah, that's true. True.
His awakened state has made him very hungry, so he's got to eat even more now.
The man slams some Chinese food.
He does. But now we go to Irving, who we haven't seen yet.
Oh yes.
And he arrives at Bert's house. I love how he busts out the mini like mustache comb and it's like combing his mustache before he goes in. Like, bro, what are you doing?
Got tame those whiskers, bro.
That's right. And then so Bert answers the door and he's like, who the heck are you?
Yeah, that was great.
And he's like, it's a joke.
It was it's very convincing.
Dude, he's a great actor. Like,
it really is.
Oh man, I'm so glad he's in the show. He just so great. And this is where we finally get introduced to John Noble, or Fields, who is played by John Noble.
Yes.
And they oddly call each other Attila as a nickname.
Mm-hmm.
Then we see like the kitchen, the cabinets were all different colors, which I thought was strange. And then Fields makes the jab instantly. He's like, whatever your innie saw in this Philistine is beyond me. I'm like, dang, bro, coming and swinging.
And that makes sense after the conversation at the table. I guess I didn't really even like put 2 and 2 together, but now that you say it, like,
yeah,
calling him a Philistine, just that's rowdy.
And then he also makes the comment, "What's mine is yours," which was so awkward. And
I mean, just like, what are you like? How are you supposed to handle that?
I felt bad for Irving. Like, he was in a tricky spot. Like,
yeah. Well, first off, Irving. I mean, come on. Why are you gonna go over there?
He's a good dude.
Well, it's gonna be awkward.
Yeah, you're asking for it.
But like, I mean, the show.
But this goes into another theory that I was kind of thinking about, and then I read it somewhere, and I cannot find it anywhere now. That I feel like
that means it's probably right because I had to scrub it from the internet.
I think there is something about love, like, that kind of like bleeds through the Severance thing going on. And I think that's why Irving is drawn to Bert. And even later when we see the interaction between Mark and Helena, why that's so awkward, why it looks like,
well, like,
he's experiencing something.
I don't feel like that's
explain it.
I don't feel like that's a fair comparison because they're both aware of what happened.
Who?
Because Mark and Helena. Because, I mean, Helena obviously is aware because it was her.
Mark doesn't know.
But with the reintegration stuff that's happening, like, if the stuff that happened at Lumen before the nosebleed was a memory, then he's remembering telling Helly R that it was actually with Helena.
Nope, because at the end, after Ragabi floods the chip with that stuff, he gets the flashes of Helena, and he's like, what the frick?
Oh.
That's when it hits him.
Okay.
And all that stuff at the end happens. But
then how does he know who she is?
she made the apology video.
Oh yeah, true.
I mean, he's got to be aware that, you know, she's.
I guess she's probably the public facing. Egan, right.
And I mean, that whole thing with her and the finale of season 1 was televised. So
True.
I mean, even at that moment, he would have known.
Fair enough.
Okay,
Mike was wrong.
It's all right. You're allowed to be.
Yeah.
I still accept you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we don't have to dig into this this part too much, but the one thing I did want to note is that they reference Christianity and Jesus a lot.
Oh yeah, we're back to Bert and
Irving, not Bert and Ernie, Bert and Irving.
That's easy to accidentally say though.
I know. I've had to catch myself. I think the reason why it was put in there is not necessarily a jab at Christianity, but I think that Egan had such a Messiah complex. And then,
as most cult leaders do,
exactly. And you know, this company reeks of cult, so this really, like, for me, solidifies that it is a cult, and Egan is crazy and wants to live forever and be Messiah of Lumen.
Yeah, but like the whole reason that Bert gets severed, like this whole conversation,
it's weird.
Wow, man, it's very fascinating, and I don't know how to think about it.
Well,
because essentially, like the pastor of their church believes that, like the severed person is a unique person
and has their own soul.
They have their own soul and they can be redeemed and go to heaven. But the Audi could not. So like,
right.
The same person could go to heaven and be sent to hell, which is very weird.
Which it is weird. And that was like what Fields kind of held on to, because he makes the comment that Bert was a scoundrel in his earlier days.
Scoundrel.
What kind of stuff did he do that, you know? That was, and Irving did a great job at maintaining his discomfort throughout the whole thing. They also Fields made the comment that Bert started at Lumen like 20 years ago, and that the first Lumen office wasn't even made until like 12 years ago.
Yeah.
Not a mistake. Fields was not super drunk. He was probably tipsy. They were drinking a lot of wine. But I don't know.
Yeah. Was it Irving that caught on to that right away, or was it Bert that corrected?
He questioned. He's like,
Fields.
well, I thought the first office was open 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And then that's when Bert was kind of suggesting that Fields was,
right,
sipping on the wine a little too hard.
Hitting that daddy juice a little too hard.
That's right. So while this is happening, we have a shot of our buddy, Mr. Drummond, and he shows up at Irving's apartment.
That's where he was. I wasn't
He
sure.
has a huge ring of keys.
How did you know that it was Irving's apartment? Or was I just not paying attention?
Because he eventually gets into
Irving. The wall said Irving. I'm just kidding.
No. He finds Irving's secret box of Lumen.
So
paraphernalia.
the paraphernalia. So all those Lumen files were in Irving's box. So Irving had possession of all this information of all the severed people.
Yep, the employee list. Yeah. So
Miss Huang was on there, I think.
I did not see that, but let's probably
go back.
There's another cool thing that I didn't really get to, really dive into too much, but
I think Bert's was blank outside of his name. Like he had no other details filled in.
I can't remember.
Unreal. All these other details you remember.
I know. I was going to
Maybe
say
the most important thing.
Well, a crazy detail that I did catch is that if you looked at the names, certain letters were underlined.
Oh, really?
And it had an anagram, and I have to look into it some more, but you know, it's crazy. There's so many details.
What did it spell?
I think it spelled out Keir Egan or something like that. All hail Keir Egan.
Nice.
Keir Egan or bust. So we have that scene that you were talking about earlier with Dylan and Gretchen at dinner. He's trying to get a car. He's like trying to persuade her to let him get a car, and she's like, "No, that's not a good idea." And he's like, "All right, just test drive only. Got it." And he asked how the visit went, and she's like, "They canceled." He didn't say, he was probably busy. Interesting thing. And I've seen it in a couple different places. The color purple.
Nice.
And
it's a good color.
Well, how do you get purple? You blend red and blue. What else is red and blue?
America.
America.
Sorry, this whole Gulf of America renaming is very close to home, so it's
literally
just always, it's just always on my mind. like 9 miles from home. That's
right.
How close it is.
Basically your backyard.
Yeah.
So the Audi world is represented by the color red, and the Innie world is represented by the color blue. And you put those two together, you get purple.
Where do you get these? Where'd you get that representation? I mean, other than all of them, and like on our background is all blue.
I mean, these colors are everywhere, but I've been watching a lot of stuff, reading a lot of stuff, and it's like the one I can't tell you where it's from, or I would definitely reference it. But the purple kind of suggests that like maybe she's conflicted, or like she's kind of struggling with both. You know, like I don't like, it's a moral dilemma almost. Like, what am I doing? I want both, but I can't have both, so I wear purple. That's all I can do is wear purple.
Can I just say one more thing?
Yes.
About
Gulf America?
Yes. Totally unrelated to the podcast. But if you think about it, what are these 3 continents named? North America, Central America, South America. Why is everyone making such a big deal about it being called the Gulf of America? It's literally a gulf surrounded by 3 different Americas.
It's true.
Come on.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's legit. It's a legit argument.
I mean, obviously I know why Trump's doing it, because it's America.
Right.
But like also it is the Americas.
Yeah.
So anyways.
Okay.
Stupid, totally unrelated derailing is now over. I apologize.
You're good. That doesn't bother me.
Let us know how you feel about the Gulf of
Yes, please blow up our comments. We will be glad to discuss further with you.
Yes.
So now we are at dinner with Mark.
Yes.
He
slamming Chinese food.
Eating dinner for 2. He even gets 2 fortune cookies. And then, wouldn't you know, Helena walks in. It sits in a booth several booths down, and conveniently makes eye contact with him. What are you doing here? Small world. Yeah. Small Keir little town.
Should we say Helena playing with her food at this point?
Absolutely. Or attempting to.
Yeah.
So she's trying to make it look like a total accident that they bumped into each other.
Yeah.
And And he's totally confused, like, okay, cool. Why are you looking at me? And then she walks up to him, and it's very stalkerish, really. She introduces herself, and he already knows who she is. I feel like he's trying hard to be polite, because Mark,
because he's kind of a douche.
Audi Mark is very much a douche. Like, if he doesn't want to talk to you, he's just gonna dismiss you and walk away eventually. But he is trying to be polite. I will give him that.
But this conversation is what made me think that, like, he knows, because, like, very quickly he, like, gets close to, like, both of them actually get close to how Helly R and Mark S, like, interact with each other, like, playful, a little flirty, a little, like, ribbing here and there. And I'm like, oh, they both, I mean, obviously we know Helena knows, we know that,
obviously,
but at this point I'm like, oh, maybe Mark knows too. And they, like, both are, like, signaling to each other that they know that they both know, you know, like, I know you know, and I know you know I know, you know.
I feel like he senses a something strange, like a strange connection, but he can't quite put his finger on it. He's like, why do I feel this way?
True.
And she's trying to, like, pull it out of him. Literally, like, and the crazy thing is, like, if we didn't know any of this stuff with Helena, this moment probably wouldn't have felt as awkward. I think it would have been some chick goes up to a guy and is just trying to have a conversation with him.
Yeah.
Maybe a little weird just because of how he's reacting. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
So she apologized for the OTC, calls it a systemic error, and said it'll never happen again. And then she said,
dude,
I'm like the head of the company, Mark.
Her savagery, dude,
is
on point this episode.
Yeah.
For what she's about to say.
So he...
Apologies for the dog barking. Porch Mike's back.
Porch Mike's back. You're Audi Mike.
Yeah.
Literally.
Oh, man, I wish I would have known that. I would change my name every time Porch Mike.
And then, okay, so after she says, I'm like the head of the company, he's like, oh, so you're responsible for the whole severance thing. And she's like, no, that was my father. He came up with a severance procedure. You should meet him sometime. I freaking love Mark. He's like, you want to take me home to dad already?
That's why this is the part of the conversation where I'm like, they both know.
He's just witty.
Yeah.
He's just witty. I mean, even like with his interaction with
being a douche.
A douche, but witty. A witty douche. And he's like this with
the best kind of douche, actually.
Yeah. There's no other douche to be. He's like this with Devin too. Yeah, their exchanges are amazing. I love it. So he asked that, and she's like, I think it's finally time. You'd be the first. And then she's like, I'd love to hear about your experiences sometime. And he's like, about Severance? He knows nothing. So what experiences are you asking about? And then she explains the OTC. You can imagine how confusing that must have been. And you've already been through so much, losing your wife and all. Hannah.
What a monster. She did it on purpose, obviously.
Right. And he obviously corrects her. And I don't know, man. Like, is she poking?
Oh, yeah. What else could she be doing?
I don't know.
She knows it's not Hannah. She's not dumb.
Right.
She knows exactly what's going on.
Yeah. She's very,
Holy cow. Sorry. Derailing about to commence. Bro, why do you have an outlet like 6 feet up your wall behind you? I have no idea how I just noticed this. I'm like, what's above your head right now?
I don't know, man. It was here when I moved in.
And
all this time it's been there.
Is like, have you ever seen Scott Pilgrim vs. the World?
Yeah.
There's like in the party scene where he's talking to Ramona on the wall, there's a light switch that's like 8 feet up the wall, but it's not like an outlet, it's a light switch. And that's all I could think about. I'm so sorry.
That's hilarious. I'm gonna find something to put over that.
There you go. Just Photoshop something.
Just like a black box, like a sensor box above my head, like I'm having bad thoughts or something. Oh,
just a long rectangle.
Now, dude, like a chat bubble.
There you go.
Or a thought bubble. Help, Dad's thinking again. Oh man. Okay, so after that awkward exchange, he begins coughing. And then he gets up. They both get up and like they're like about to say goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just so like weird. I mean, she's obviously watching him and keeping tabs on him. And like there was another episode where he's like leaving Lumen and we see like the back of someone's head. Obviously it's Helena.
Yeah.
So she is like got her eye on him like real bad. Like she wants this guy bad.
Yeah.
So another fun thing that I noticed was the sign for the restaurant is Zufu.
Yeah,
but only the
I kept looking at the sign and I'm like, they keep putting it in frame, like very obviously in frame for us to like see the name of this, but I couldn't put anything together.
Well, thanks to YouTube and other great YouTubers who, you know, break this show down like we're doing. The FU means father in Japanese.
Oh.
So yeah, I still think Helly might be pregnant.
Helly, or maybe Mark is your father.
Maybe Miss Huang is Mark and Gemma's kid.
Dude.
I was thinking that, but she's pretty old.
She is pretty old, but so is Mark.
That's true.
I mean, old enough to have like a 12-year-old.
Yeah, I guess that's possible.
I mean, I have an almost 10-year-old.
I have an 18-year-old.
Yeah, well, you are old.
How old is what's his face?
I don't know. Let's find out.
All right, you figure that out. So after this, we see Drummond again, still snooping around, and this is where he finds Irving's hidden chest, and he's going through the papers and sees the severed employees list, and it's focused on Bert's name.
I'm so sorry, but this took me. Guess how old Adam Scott is?
40.
No, not even close. He's 51.
Nuh-uh, shut up. Wow.
So I'm sorry for my reaction while you're in the middle of talking. That was very surprising. Yeah, he was born in 1973.
Wow.
Definitely old enough to have a 12-year-old.
Definitely.
I mean,
probably an older kid.
You're like 60 and you have an 18-year-old, so
I'm going to fly down there and cut you. I will sever you.
I'm trying.
I will sever you myself.
Tried so hard to get you down there.
Oh, man. All right. So after we see Drummond, we go back to dinner with Bert and Irving.
Yes.
Oh, this is where they argue about how long it's been, the 20 years versus 12 years. And then Bert hints that Fields has had too much to drink.
Then it gets very awkward.
Yeah. He's very forward about what he feels about Bert and Irving, about, you know, them sharing vessels.
Yes.
And Lumen.
Work time coitus.
And no protection. It was just weird. It was just weird.
But very, very valid questions.
Yeah. I mean, what was happening 20 years ago?
What? Like, talking about Fields questions to Irving.
Oh. I was trying to get around that.
Right. But also, like, do you like? Do you actually expect them to be able to answer you? They're severed.
Right.
They don't
Yeah,
know.
there's no way that they'd know.
Anyways, yeah. But I don't fault Fields. I guess is what I'm saying.
I mean,
valid reaction.
yeah,
Very reasonable question.
your loved one
Yeah.
had, you know, a fling or whatever with a coworker, but they don't remember.
Yeah,
you're like, you can't, you know,
yeah,
you don't really know. But anyway,
yeah,
it's crazy.
The 20 years thing, though. The difference between when Bert or Fields, which one of them says that it's been Bert saying 20 years, and then
Irving or Fields said it was 20 years,
and then
Bert was like, no, it was only 12.
Yeah, Irving and Bert correcting, and of course, again, this is why I want to get a closer look at the files, because I'm almost positive when they showed Bert's name, when what Drummond was looking through in Irving's apartment, like all of the other information I think was blank.
Yeah.
So it's like, was he the first? Was he not?
Was he a founder?
Yeah. Is he like part of the inner circle, so to speak? Like, there's like, you brought up a very good point about not trusting him. There's something else going on with Bert.
Yeah. Absolutely.
What's your, do you have any ideas?
Well, I had the feeling that Bert had Irving come to dinner so he could give Drummond time to go through Irving's stuff. It just seemed way too convenient. The timing.
Yeah.
Because why else would Drummond go to Irving's place?
Yeah. How would he know that he wouldn't be there? And so why would Bert like be snooping on Irving whenever he's at the payphone, and then like just be like, yeah, come on over, we'll have ham
and bring wine.
Yeah. And so you're thinking Bert is on the inside, the inner circle.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, absolutely. Just, I mean, the way that they're framing it. I mean, the way he looks, his expressions, the shadows, the lighting, like it's classic villain photography, cinematography.
Yeah. Was Attila the Hun a bad person?
He was someone who went around conquering other places. So if that's the case, Bert and Fields call each other Attila. So maybe they're both some kind of like power hungry people. And if Bert is involved with Lumen, what is Fields involved with?
Right.
There's just so many questions that come up with this, because Bert is definitely more important than we originally thought. We thought he was just some guy who liked paintings in Lumen. Seemed like a regular guy, like, I don't know.
Yeah, so Attila the Hun was one of the most feared enemies of the Western and Eastern Roman empires.
It's fitting.
He like invaded Italy and a few other notable places, but was unable to take Rome.
Yeah.
And he planned further campaigns against the Romans, but died in 453. So a little older fella. Yes. But yeah, I would say maybe not a great guy. So maybe that's some obviously some sort of foreshadowing on Bert's true nature.
I think for both of them, honestly.
Yeah. I do think it's like a very clever way to like sneak that in, because I mean, call each other Hun, Attila the Hun. I mean, that's good.
Yeah, that's pretty clever.
Yeah, definitely some shenanigans going on there.
Yeah. So now we get to the crazy part, as if none of this has been crazy at all. We're back at Mark's place. He runs downstairs to the basement to Ragabi, and he's like, "Sorry for being a dick. Let's do it." He wants to do the procedure.
Literally, that was verbatim the exact line.
Yes. So now Mark is hooked back up to the machine. This part, like a little bit of like body horror stuff going on.
Yeah, can I be frank with you?
Yes.
It's gonna sound really dumb, but of all of the parts of this entire show that like I was unable to suspend my disbelief, it was this procedure. I was like, I can't believe that this would be happening. He would 1000% die. She's taking a needle, sticking it into his brain, and like pushing fluid into it.
Right.
With just her hand, by the way, not steady, as she's going into the hole in his skull. He would, at worst, obviously be dead. At least be severely maimed.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Or extremely hemorrhaging.
Yeah.
I mean, it's TV, you know, you gotta, you said, suspend some disbelief. Very crazy procedure, you know, at just that. So he's hooked back up. This needle's super long too. It's like crazy long. Like, I'm sorry, like I don't mind needles, but that big of a needle, I'm gonna freak out a little bit.
Yeah, where is that going exactly?
It's going in the back. Yeah, right.
Yeah, no
and he
thanks.
can't even see. He's like, "Oh yeah, I trust you." And then, you know, I mean, she.
Meanwhile, she's back there like,
"Hold still, Mark." So basically, what she's doing, she numbs the old incision point from where they put the severance chip, and then she takes these pliers or whatever and spreads his skin apart, and he's just like, "Oh, what are you doing back there?"
Tickles, stop it.
And then she lunges this shakily massive needle into his brain, floods the chip.
Yeah, she's like, remember that hemorrhaging conversation?
Yeah,
we're just gonna do that right now.
Here we go. I hope you're ready.
But like, was that to like dislodge and push the chip out, or like somehow like make it short circuit and like fry
either
itself?
That or blocking the chip's frequency somehow, because it's obviously linked to lumen,
right? Yeah, because they can turn it off and turn it on
at any time. And that's something else too that like is crazy. Like the they have, you remember the Glasgow block? There was a menu of different options. Like there was beehive, there was elephant, there was, you know, those are the few that stuck out to me. Like, what can these guys, like, what can this company do? Like, when I think of like beehive, I think of like hive mind. Like, what's going on here? Like, I went through a deep dive of like bees and the similarities of the show into beehives, and like, oh, it's crazy. Anyway, so then the brainwaves, once the chip gets floated, the brainwaves on the monitor could go away. They like merge and go away. And then he's like, "How long will it take?" And she says, "Fast." And then there's a rumbling, and then he starts getting these flashes of memories of being with Helena, and this is when he's like, "What the F did I just see?" But he also sees Miss Casey. And then there's a knock at the door. And like he like sits up real fast, and Ragabi's like, "Don't do that." Don't do that. And then he's like freaking out more.
Yeah. And very sweaty.
Like, I mean,
very not well.
Dude has just had a major brain surgery.
in his basement.
In his basement with questionable doctors.
By a doctor trained by Michael J. Fox.
Oh, gosh.
You know. Too soon?
That reminded me of a really bad Family Guy joke, but we'll move on. We'll move on. We must move on. So he goes upstairs, answers the door. It's Devin, and she came to tell him that she has an idea, and he's like, you know what? I figured it out. I'm doing it myself. Whatever.
She's like, are the messages burning into your eyes long enough? Or I forget exactly how, but she's still on the whole lamp thing.
He's like, no. And then he's basically being a douche, and
classic Mark.
Yeah. And then he yells, what is that smell? And then he starts losing his motor skills, can't pick up the glass of water.
He's having a stroke.
Yes.
Literally.
And then this part's crazy because he sees flashes of Gemma.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a short frame, which I caught on my second watch, where we see Gemma in the white severed hallway. She's got long hair and she's wearing purple. And it's super quick. It's super quick. It's like a blink and you'll miss it. And then Mark passes out and begins to have a seizure. And Regabi runs up. Yeah.
Very hard on the floor.
Yep. And
so
Devin's
if
like,
Mark sitting up very quickly was bad, I'm sure him smashing his head on the floor is probably worst case scenario.
And he's not going to go to the doctor.
Yeah, that's true.
There's no way. I think he's going to be, being taken care of by Dr. Regabi.
Right. Oh, geez. We're going to have another PD all over again.
I don't think so. I'm holding on to the hope that he will be fine.
What if that's actually just how the series ends?
Is him dying?
Yeah, at the end of the season, he's just like, his head explodes. It's like, all right, well,
show over.
Good run.
Thanks for hanging out. We're done now. We're done here. You'll never know anything else.
Yeah.
And then the last little bit we have of the episode, we have Bert and Irving saying their goodbyes. Bert reassures Irving that Fields gets a little fuzzy, when he drinks. Irving says that he had a good time and that they should do it again. And Bert asks him, with Fields or just the two of them? And Irving says, either way. And then he leaves. Mm-hmm. And Bert watches menacingly from the doorway in the shadows and then shuts the door.
Yeah. Dude, the step lights were so cool.
They were very cool.
I'm sorry, but like, if I ever have outdoor steps in my yard, I would love lighting like that. That's sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, good episode.
We've pretty much covered all the theories that I had.
Yeah, same.
This far.
Same. My two big like questions that I kind of like quickly, well, the one quickly disproved to myself, but the second one still up in the air for me, though you convinced me a little bit. Where the wild one of them actually being in their homes and not on the severed floor.
I feel like they'd be kind of cheap though. Like cheap though.
It probably would be.
Yeah, kick to the crowd, the audience.
But I'm still not convinced that Mark didn't totally. But like we talked about that, where maybe it's just like a fuzzy, faint, like, why do I recognize? Why do I feel like I've talked to you a bunch of times before with Helena? But yeah, good episode.
Let's do like a quick going forward, because I had a couple things that I wanted to a couple things that I jotted down that I think we might be going in the direction we might be going. So I don't know if you saw the trailer for the last half of the season.
I have not watched a single trailer.
Okay. So I'm seeing the trailer. I feel like Mark will be in like a dream or coma state. I mean, it's legit because he just knocked himself out. We'll get some memories of him and Gemma.
Okay.
which will be nice because we haven't had really any interaction between them, and it's just been like a Mark and Helly and Helena centric season.
Yeah,
where we at least got Miss Casey in season 1, and we that reveal at the end was crazy big. So they've got to continue that, and I think they will. So this next episode, I think, will be a lot of him and Gemma, and I also think that Mark will now be one person.
You think so?
Maybe, or at least by the end of the season. Maybe, could be wrong, obviously. I think Kobelvig will come back in a very dramatic way, because we've not seen the last of her, and she's been gone for a while. I don't think she's dead.
It's been a couple episodes.
A big one is I think Cold Harbor will be completed by the end of the season, if not sooner. I think we'll get to the testing floor and see exactly what's going on, or we could potentially, it could be a potentially big cliffhanger as we see Gemma. Maybe she's like hooked up to something, or is in a different position and not good.
Oh, yeah.
Crazy. I know they're crazy, but
now you got me thinking if Miss Huang is their child.
I know.
That would really be wild.
That's really all I had.
We should. I know we already have all the previous episodes out, but maybe like in the maybe in the finale we can scrub through every episode and just on screen bullet points every single insane theory that we came up with.
Yeah.
And then see how horribly we failed with our wild speculation.
Well, and I feel like they give us a lot of this stuff to like go wild with.
Yeah.
So they give us information, but it's only like a little bit of the whole picture.
Right.
Like it's just a piece. Yeah. So like we might have some of it right because it's obvious and thrown at us, but like there's so much more to it, and it's not that simple.
Yeah.
I love it.
Good writing. Good writing.
Some of my favorite writing.
Yeah. You guys want to know some exciting news?
Yes.
Nick has finished season 1.
Yes.
So it's only a matter of time before he's maybe caught up with us and listening to these episodes
or joining us.
Maybe, dude, that'd be wild. What if he catches up by the finale?
Oh, that would be sick.
Have a three-peat, little three-piece Theory Boys showcast.
Theory Boys, that's a great name for a podcast.
Coming soon. Another Showboys spinoff. We don't actually talk about the shows. We just create wild theories without even watching the show.
And without context. It's just random theories.
Yeah.
You have no
the
idea
episodes are only 5 minutes long.
Petey comes back.
There you go. He's not actually dead.
It's out. Petey is the dentist.
What if he was?
I've heard that theory.
Yeah. So anything else?
Nope. I think that does it for us.
All right, cool. Well, thank you guys for listening. Make sure you subscribe. Appreciate all the views we've been getting in the last couple episodes.
Yes, thank you.
Let us know any of your wild theories if you think we're totally out of touch with reality and way off base with ours. But since Father G mentioned it, Miss Huang is Mark S. and Gemma's child.